So you're, all right, so Guy, great, perfect, all right, and we're being live streamed and ready to start the recording. Okay, so you guys are ready to go, and Kristen here's the mount. For logging off. Guy, can you hear and everything okay?
Yes. Hello.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Hi. Hey guys, sorry I've been in my I was actually in the hospital with kidney stones a couple days before last.
Those are no fun.
No, not at all.
You feeling better now?
Getting there. You know, it's still feeling the pain, but at least I can walk.
Good story. Yeah, that's no fun.
Do you want to run the meeting, or do you want one of us to start it, or how do you want to do that?
That'd be great if you could please lead.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and start with Kristen, did you want to read one of the statements?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, let me just kick off the Historic Landmarks Commission regular meeting agenda Monday, September 29, 2022. Start at 7:03 p.m. We are in Town Hall, all present, and Guy in Town Hall, except for Guy Hammer, our chair, who is on Zoom. So we're full. And with that, I will read the communication thing. Until further notice, the Corporation of Harpers Ferry governing and deliberative bodies will hold meetings virtually via Zoom webinar, which provides for public participation during a public comment period when applicable and when posted on the agenda. Alternatively, the public may watch meetings by YouTube or listen by telephone. These options comply with the Open Governmental Meetings Act. Let me read the opening statement.
I'll do that.
You go ahead.
The Historic Landmarks Commission was established to preserve, protect, and foster the rehabilitation of the town's historic edifices to ensure that growth of the community is commensurate with its historic significance. The commission operates under the authority granted to it by FC Ordinance Article 131 is set forth by the West Virginia Code 8-26A-4. The qualifications of the commission members are on file with the town and are hereby made part of the record of each and every action of the commission at its meeting today. The basis of the commission administrative approval or recommendation to the Board of Zoning Appeals is the Harpers Ferry Historic District Standards and Guidelines. They are hereby made part of the record of each and every action at the commission at today's meeting. Each application heard today is considered on its own merits and is not to be considered as establishing a precedent for any other application. Please note an interactive digital catalog of all Harpers Ferry Historic District properties, including architectural descriptions, locations, pictures, is available for public edification online at bit.ly/HF-historic homes. We have approval agenda. I nominate that we approve the agenda. Any comments, questions?
Second.
Okay.
Discussion.
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Okay. You should have two sets of minutes in front of you. We're going to vote on each one of those. We have the regular meeting of July 2022 and the regular meeting of August 2022. I make a motion that we approve. Can I do that if I request them?
You can do them together or you can do them individually.
I'll make a motion. We accept the meetings as presented.
Okay.
The minutes. So.
I'll second it. Good. I'll second it. Me too.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion there?
Never she is.
Okay. Do we have any public comments or agenda items? I didn't receive any of those, Guy. Do you have any of those?
No.
Okay.
No? Did you get an email or anything?
With comments? Let me check.
Yeah.
Yeah, requesting. Just want to make sure. Probably.
Well, take a look.
If there were, it would have probably come from Patty. But it's kind of rarely.
Yeah. Well,
All right.
I'm not seeing anything.
Okay. All right.
All right.
We're going to be moving to discussion and action of old business. The first thing on our agenda here is the Weaver Boundary Street way sign. And we had a note on here, request for quote. I believe this is Guy. Do you have anything about the Weaver Boundary Street?
No.
Just put it on the next one.
All right.
Unless we got anything to discuss on it, I mean, yeah.
Is it out for a quote?
No, he has to get, I guess the request for quote done.
Okay, that's where it's at.
Yeah, it was
I
a
guess
request for quote.
it's there, and then he's
Well,
gonna,
sorry, I'm just trying, guys, I was trying to remember, we did, I thought the last time we talked about that, Tommy, did you say you knew a company or somebody who did work on historic signs?
No, it wasn't me.
for me.
No, I know like some metal fabricators that, you know, if we're looking to frame a sign or posts or things like that, but I don't have any connections as far as, you know, the graphic design or anything like that.
Got it. Okay.
So we have to just get it kind of put together as a quote, so, and then we'll have to figure out where to send it.
Right.
I did find, this is kind of maybe combining items, but there was some files. I don't know if we're still looking for like verbiage for the sign or what we're trying to put on it. Do we have that all?
No, that's not been figured out.
So in the Dan Riss papers, there was a whole folder that was just about that house. And it has some historical context and some things. Actually, I was just looking up I should have asked Deb while she was here. Do you have access to because I think she might have put those papers in there. The ones that are set aside.
Only like two people in the office have access to
Yeah.
the recorder's.
But
Kevin Hartley one.
I didn't. Now, so
I have
but
access to this one.
I mean, it's here in the Dan Riss papers. There's one of the things that I did pull out that I thought would be something of use for us was a folder, and I glanced through it, and it had some historical context, and it had information about the Weaver family and kind of where they came from and where the children kind of went to, and it had a history of the property that I flipped through very quickly because it was amongst, you know, thousands of other things. But I'll see, or whoever's working on that, I'll see if I can just grab that folder back or one of us can just get it. It's locked in the recorder's office, from Pat or Deb or anyone like that, and we can it would be a good thing probably to make copies of and distribute to the whole group. But it does have some insight where it looks like someone put in some legwork on digging up the history of that home years ago that we could piggyback off of.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
speaking to one of the potential bidders, who is the guy that gave us the idea, is David. I can't remember David's last name, but his office is in the Women's Club.
Right.
And so he's the one who gets stuff, like the Odd Fellow, the one up on the Odd Fellow, but he needs like photographs. That's.
He does an ensemble.
He'll put it all together, but he needs the data, and we never got to that point.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if I don't know what we have.
Well,
So,
I'm actually going into work late tomorrow, so I'll see if I can come by when town hall opens in the morning.
well, that, Pat's not here. She won't be here.
Is
till
she back?
Wednesday.
Oh, she's back on Wednesday. Okay. So I'll talk to her whenever I can get that. I'll just take it to work and scan it because it's a big file. So I'll probably just scan the whole thing and email it out. If we wanted to start looking through that, and maybe all of it's useful, maybe just the front page or two is useful, but I'll try to get that out to everybody this week.
Okay.
We all ready to move on to agenda item number 2?
We kind of talk about it.
Yeah,
I know, I kind of lumped them together there.
And you also sent out an email that you wanna,
Yeah,
We spent 5 minutes.
There was-
5 hours.
there was a lot of stuff. I don't,
Yeah,
Guy, did you see the email I sent out? Was it last Sunday before? About the Dan Riss papers?
Yep. I'm looking at it right now.
Okay, so just kind of in summary, there was a lot of stuff. A lot of it is duplicate, triplicate of things that I'm sure are already on file in town records. A lot of it was, you know, his meeting notes with handwritten notes in the agenda, or his agendas with handwritten notes in the margins, and printed out emails. A lot of it was, I would say probably 50% of what was in there had to do with the water board and
He was
whatever.
on the water commission?
I think so.
Oh, I didn't know that.
There was a lot of, I mean, even a lot of the pictures were town council members or himself or town employees in the waterworks, you know, facility there. So a lot of it was that. He was also, it looks like he probably spent a little bit of time on BZA as well. And so there were, a lot of it was zoning applications, legal paperwork for when people had filed injunctions or, you know, things like that above the BZA in the county court or state court. So it's documents from legal proceedings and briefings and things like that. Really, the things that would be of most interest to us, I think first is the Weaver House information. And like I said, it was a manila folder that had a stack of papers in it. I looked through it for a couple minutes, but not extensively. So I'll get that passed out as soon as we can. Really beyond that, there were some pictures. Sorry, I'm just pulling up my email as well to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. There were some pictures, a lot of them were of like movies being filmed in downtown. So they were things that looked historical, but were in the 90s, early, you know, early 2000s. There were some old maps and some postcards and some drawings that their value to us, I don't think is substantial, but as far as historical preservation and, you know, I think they're interesting things that we should try to archive or document or, you know, copy in whatever way we can. Really, there was some other small stuff that was just kind of miscellaneous things. A lot of it was Hilltop House based, you know, early talks between Swan Group and the town and things like that.
Promontory overload.
Yeah.
Was there like a shoebox of images and postcards and artifacts, or were things
There's a shoebox
So-
of postcards.
So this is, and Patty still has some of the, so this was just the picture I sent an email.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is how I got it. It was in boxes like this. And for the most part, it was boxes. And Guy, I'm just pulling up the picture, one of the
Sure.
pictures sent in the email.
Sure.
It's boxes that had file folders in them or stacked in them. Two of the boxes were full of magazines that were like Civil War enthusiast magazines.
That's not what he showed us. That's,
So,
but there was a shoebox or a preservation box that was about that tall, about that wide, about that deep. And it was all in there vertically, as I recall. It might have been
Okay.
stacked. And it was all photographs and postcards, but it would have been in that kind of dimensional size, smaller than a
And
number 10 envelope.
Pat did tell me that she, and I saw her right before she went out of town. So she said she thought there was another box, and then she had texted me and said, hey, I found the box I was looking for, so that may be the one.
Okay.
And she had also insinuated that there were more photographs and things, so I'm hoping that's the
That
box.
was the box Dan presented to Landmarks.
Okay.
And said this was the visual artifacts of the history that he had collected. And he had kind of shown us some of that stuff. I just remember a lot of turn of century photographs, things like
Okay.
the flood, 1930,
Yeah,
some of the
that would
old,
be great.
you know, in pre-Civil War.
Yeah,
you know.
because I didn't see any of that. There were some old postcards, like late 1800s, early 1900s, that had some cool old prints on them and, you know, drawings of the town. But I'll check with Pat just so I can see if that, because that would be, I mean, maybe I've sorted through the stuff we don't need and we can just that small.
That's what, I mean, maybe he had kind of sorted it out. I don't,
Yeah.
this was many years ago, so I'm vague, and it was like 5 minutes in a copy. And immediately it was in there, like right inside the doors where it got
Okay.
tucked on a shelf or something. But
Yeah, I'll look for that because what I got were just Home Depot, like.
That was like
boxes.
stuff out of his house, right? You
Yes,
know, his-
and I think Travis said his brother or someone had come in after his death and gone through and packed up things that might.
We're not even sure we got it all.
Yeah.
Between him living at the end of Fillmore and then a bunch of stuff got moved to his brother's place in Bolivar.
Oh,
And we don't even know where it all, we're not even sure we got it all. And I thought there would be more than that.
My question was, I know we were looking at archiving and making some of this digital. Well, the actual physical stuff, I was curious. I know that they restored the church to be a community center. Now, there was some plans to have some historical artifacts in there. I think at some point in time in this process, we should invite Bolivar Harper's Ferry Historical Foundation to come in. Maybe they would have a play in actually, displaying some of these things once we get them logged and cataloged and those kind of things, so that it's something that can be shared.
But we talked about doing a joint meeting with them one of these days. That would be a good idea, maybe bring that material. But they're far from
Oh, yeah, I just,
taking anything right now, because they're inside, I mean, it's mildewy. I was just in it a couple of weeks ago. They're still working on the exterior.
I know it's just one of those things. I know we got all these boxes, so if we thought about paring down what we thought would be valuable to share with them, that might be an idea of the things we're gonna
Yeah.
keep.
So they were
and could
not,
we, yes, up towards like what would be the narrative sections if we were to do something, there might be different things. I mean, the other place you could look at where they've done this is down at the train station.
Yeah.
Where the town has the room.
Yeah.
And there's some different themes around the wall.
Okay.
So I'll talk to Pat and I'll see if that box you mentioned to me is the one that you're talking about. And then I can go through that, or we can, if it's stuff that looks good, we can start to put our heads together on what to do. As far as what I did go through, I think maybe we talk to someone like someone with a little more interest in it, or not interest, a little more expertise in the larger scale pictures. How do we correctly preserve? Because right now they're in a large file folder, like like an artist would put a piece of art in to protect. It's just one big brown folder that they're dropped in. And most of them aren't super old, but there are some older printed maps and things like that that would be cool things to display at least.
Were there any signs of insect damage?
No, they all looked to be in good shape.
They've been
They
dry.
were dry, none of the pages were stuck together. It all seemed to be in good shape.
Okay.
But it's all just kind of there together. So I
Right.
think as long as it doesn't get humid and the pictures start to, sweat or anything like
Mildew
that.
or you
Yeah.
get bugs in there.
Yeah, it all seemed to be in good shape. It was, but it was, I think the rest of the stuff that's there, we can go through it together, or other people can double check my work if you want, but a lot of it is things from 15 years ago that aren't relevant to anything we'd be working on. But
I wish we could just take the stuff that's not good out of that file and just focus on what's.
I think
yeah, and I separated out, so I've got,
Let's do that.
and so I told, when I finished up on a Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, I texted Pat, it was right before she left, and I said, hey, and I said, all the boxes here on this end of the table, I don't need to go through again. And on that end of the table, I had the small stack of stuff. So she kept them separate, so we can look at them, and as soon as we can get back in the room, I'll take a look at that other. And then maybe from there, we can decide, is it the, Bolivar Harper's Ferry Historic Association? Is it library? Are we looking again at WVU or one of those,
Just something to mention.
No.
You'll never see it again.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So it was interesting. There's a lot of stuff in there.
Thank you for that.
Yes.
That was a lot of work.
That
Thank
was
you. Finally.
a favor of civic.
We got through it, it took a hot minute, but we got there.
All right. Any other comments or concerns, questions on the archives?
We have a budget to digitize it next year. I think I saw in the minutes.
We have, I got, because I'm the, head of budget and finance for the town, so we made sure we moved it. Last week's budget to this budget, so there's a certain amount of dollars.
Okay, so I mean, once we identify that core set of things that look like they're preservation worthy, that might be the target to go ahead and digitize. So we just got that. And right.
And if somebody wanted, after we figure what it is, we could get potential bids or something like that. And it's going to work. So, because we don't have staff to do this kind of stuff.
Can the website handle images and having a section that has the historic?
Kevin handle it, Kevin.
Well, that's what I'm kind of,
Yeah, that's, see, we know as the town, we know we're way behind on digital aspect. You know, like storage, we don't have a way. Still, we notice all the paper up there. We'd love to have that on digital ties.
Now, this is something the council has been talking about, haven't they, about upgrading? So this is something, okay.
It's something we think is going to be in the $20,000-$30,000 range. This is a big.
Okay.
This is big for us.
Yeah.
So right now, we've got some other big fish to fry.
So it might be looking at something when we do the digitalization, something that's going to be something that would interact well with a lot of different systems. So something that is
standard objects like PDFs.
yes,
That
yes,
anything could use.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah, they're trying to get the town, we're trying to, we in the town want to have, or the town council wants to have more stuff available to our residents,
Yeah.
and outsiders. The website we have is way behind the times. It's very, very difficult to use. I mean, you try to look up old meeting stuff and it just
You
doesn't
can't
even
find
open. PDF doesn't open, stuff like that. So I don't know what that means. I'm not a tech person, but something's.
It wasn't engineered to be performant. I think it was
No,
engineered for
I don't think
HTML
Yeah.
and everything else kind of added on.
Yeah, so we need real, but there's on the shelf software. But we need to know how to set it up and all. But for instance, all our, I guess everything is on paper, like these records, all this stuff. And then they get misfiled or they get, who knows? And we can't find it.
Yeah, that's not good. Okay.
We know. It's gonna cost.
Well, I was just thinking if we had a vision, you know, what the vision was, the digitizing.
We're trying to digitize the whole town.
Right, but right.
For this, we were talking about putting, you know, having it visually there and then tagging it, having certain tags. So if I was looking Hilltop, or I was looking Schwann, or I was looking Fillmore Street, we would have several tags. So we would have to decide, we get a piece and say, okay, what kind of tags are we going to associate with this? So when people are looking for it, it's going to pop up.
Yeah, you know what we were looking for, it was like, you pull up my address, 900 Fillmore. Okay, what permits were done, issued for my property in the last, how many years?
Right, but we want to,
HLC.
we want to cross-reference your address with the plat number with the names of all
Right.
the property owners in the chain going back. I mean, there's a lot
Yeah,
of.
the
We
name,
don't have.
your name or your B&B,
Right.
those kind of things.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. All right. The next two we've been kind of combining. We've got the landing page, but that has kind of been depending upon the results of the welcome letter and then the historic inventory. So I don't know, Guy, if you have anything specific that you wanted to talk about the landing page right now. Okay.
No, I think you guys, I appreciate you taking the lead and have total confidence in what you're doing. I have just been completely consumed with my company's acquisition.
Okay.
And over the past few months, it's just been really crazy. And but you know, I think you've been doing a great job stepping up, and I really appreciate it.
No problem. The welcome letter, it made it to the mayor, and I have not heard anything back. I did touch base. I'd send another email,
See
maybe.
him tomorrow.
Okay, so if you find out where it is, and then Guy, what's happening with that welcome letter? It went to council, and they brought back recommendations, so I revised it. And then the mayor wanted to see it, so it made it to the mayor's desk with all the items that they requested be changed. And the next step is once he puts his stamp on it, he's happy with it. I understand. Does that need to go to SHPO next for the funding?
Yeah, that's right.
So when that's done, do you want me to send that to you, or is that something you would like me to file?
You mean send to SHPO?
Yeah.
I can find out I think I know who it needs to go to, and yeah, if you can send it to me, I can send it to her.
Okay.
Yeah, Yeah, the mayor's been gone for the last 10 days. He just got back today, so.
Was he moose hunting again?
He has family, I think he was in Georgia.
Yeah, I think they're in Georgia.
All right, so that's kind of where we are with that. Excited to get that out because then the inventory is attached to that letter. So it's going to be interesting to start getting residents' feedback when they go on that interactive map to look at their properties and contribute some stuff back. So this is going to get really interesting. It's looking forward to seeing what the residents have about their homes and maybe some of the questions they have. So.
I did report to the town council last meeting about what we're doing, and they are eagerly waiting for this letter. Because we are having problems with people
Moving it.
Yes.
doing stuff that they should be
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah.
Or getting out of process.
Any other concerns, questions, comments about the welcome letter? Okay.
I was just gonna ask, Guy, when you did your online mapping, the Google map that has everything on there, which I know I've seen and I don't even know how I found different copies, but slightly variable versions of the historic inventory. Do you know which version you used?
Yeah. Well, I went to the National Historic Register, and there's the initial filing, and then which was, I think, what was it, 1978 or 79?
Yeah, it was around
Something
1980,
like that.
78.
And then it was revised, I believe, in what, 2000, early in the 2000s, right? And that's when it expanded to include a lot more properties in Upper Town. And there's basically two lists with the National Historic Register, the original and then the addendum. And it's time. I mean, that's the reason I went through the effort of doing that was to figure out which properties are still with us and do the descriptions still match. And for me, it was just easier to do that if I could walk up to the property and look at the description while I'm looking at the property, and just to facilitate that, and for homeowners too. But I think we are missing properties, and that's part of our mandate is to update the historic record to note that the properties that are gone now, to apply to have them removed.
So you didn't pull from, because on the town website, there's linked the 2017, this page here that has the visuals. I have, just a couple of properties I've looked at, one or two bits of conflicting information. So you didn't go off of the one that's linked on the town website. You went straight to the source, to the.
I went straight to what's in the National Historic Register, and I've spoken with people. The lady's name is escaping my mind right now, but the one who led that initiative 20 years ago still living. What's that?
Linda Rago?
Yes. Yeah. I spoke with Linda Rago about it. And she said she wouldn't be surprised at all if there were a lot of errors in the descriptions. And I've noticed some of that as well. I had started the process. Go ahead.
So the 2017 version that Tommy's looking at was our commission exercise to improve and correct the National Register.
Oh, great.
2010. We couldn't update it in the National Register because if we touched it, they would have removed properties from the national listing. They wanted to make it smaller, not larger. And so we didn't touch the net. And I don't know if Belinda told you this, but that was what happened. I think she was still chair there in 2010. And so that the version Tommy's looking at is our best estimate, or was 10 years ago. And that's when we walked the town as commissioners. We each got a street, and we had to go verify what was on the 19th and try to make the corrections.
That's great. That's great.
That's the version we should point the town residents to. The 2017 online version, and the official one of the national park is just staying. And until we can find a way, or there's a change in the politics to allow us to update it, and preserve all of the standing structures on it. They said, don't touch it. And it has to be the secretary. And it moves their politics. It's big or small. Basically, there's too many historic.
Can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, that's great to know, because that's what I was hoping, that somebody had started collecting that information. For example, I knew that when Christian, I think you and Lynn worked on the African American Heritage Tour, that the descriptions for all of those properties were much better than what's in the National Historic Register, right? And so I would include both descriptions where something like that occurred. So it's good to know that 2017 or what was the year that you guys did that?
I think it was around 2010.
Okay.
It's a long time since we've done it. I'd have to, I'll have to go back to minutes.
And then to get this information back from our letter,
Yeah.
we're gonna pick up a lot more.
Yeah.
And we didn't know where we got the information. We put that in, like, you know, this was provided by homeowner, this came from
Yeah.
this.
Right. The 2017 one online, the town version was meant to be a living version we could update.
That's the one we want to do.
It's whether we want to clone it and then actually have a new version 2023, kind of leave that one just as a checkpoint.
Yes.
You know,
And then,
then there's here's copy it over and then edit it.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what I was trying to do in the online map, was get here's what's in the register, and here are the edits, the improvements, right? Have both descriptions and use that as a foundation.
So some of the changes are improvements in 2010. They were corrections because the 1980 was wrong.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
So they had descriptions kind of blended. If you walk up the street, it's not that house, that's not that house. They just
okay.
sloppy. So we that was what we struggled with in 10, was getting the right elements of the right structure.
Well, one of the things that I from the town council thing, let me fill you in. We have recently just funded, so we funded a study group down in Morgantown or Charleston. Can't remember where it is, but they're a firm that's going to help us with our comprehensive plan. We're going to spend a lot of money with them, and they're professionals. This is what they do. They help the town set up their thing. So what we're doing here is really important, because this is really part of the comprehensive plan, as well as appendix. You know, because we are a historic town, we need to be sure we stamp in that comprehensive plan how important that is.
Right.
And we're gonna have professionals doing it. Just well, we're gonna work. They're gonna interview all kinds of things, visit with all kinds of people throughout the town, parks, any stakeholder in Harper's Ferry. But they're actually going to put the document together. But you know, and we funded it, and it's going to the planning commission. It's the planning.
So maybe an artifact to have them look at when the time is right, Christian, is our building application prologue, which is the design principles of Harper's Ferry, and that's what you're supposed to follow. You know, it's some rhythm of many scale, blah, blah, blah. That has been tested in court with some properties like the Daily House on Fillmore and found to be non-binding. So I don't know if the comprehensive plan structure could help strengthen the protections or use the right wording to make it more, I don't want to say enforceable, but
Well, they have a legal part of this firm, and we actually we want them to look over some of our processes and maybe even suggest ordinance changes and things so that they're, because we have lost, not recently, but in the past, we have lost several court cases.
yes.
In part because our ordinances just weren't, they were too vague and the judge just throws them out. I read the papers. Yeah.
And I know I was involved as a commissioner here, and one of them, along with Victoria, Smith, And we were trying to demonstrate scale and massing of a proposed structure would be like much larger than any of the neighboring houses and should be approved. And that got disregarded as part of a judgment. We weren't allowed to actually make these findings. He said,
Was it an
no,
ordinance or?
no, they said that our methodology wasn't proven. Because we were actually just walking down the street and then taking pictures of houses, looking at the front square footage, calculating the mathematical dimensions of what would be rhythm and harmony, proper scaling, and trying to apply for space.
It's really interesting as we're looking at the appendix and we are referencing other historic towns, it's exactly what they do.
When we did what they do,
Yeah.
the court said, or the defense for the client said that you can't do that, and it got thrown out. So, I mean, I that's what I'm saying. I don't know where we can.
Yeah.
Is it procedures that we didn't have documented and it had it up front? This is what we do, and it didn't look so ad hoc because for us it's ad hoc.
Yeah.
Never been tested to do this before. Maybe that's what's missing.
Yeah.
Our procedures to turn each of those terms into an operational definition. How do we measure harmony? How do we define rhythm? How do we define scale?
We also have a mind with each other. I bet you that would give you a problem as well.
Well, I think that's
Some of our streets, they're not in line, they're just all over the place.
it was somewhere we approved setbacks because like the Kennedy house couldn't build it up right on the street. The whole property kind of fell away. So we let them build it back. I know that there were some cases like that. The new, I guess what I'm just saying is if there's space in that plan to have our procedures in our text.
We'll make sure they talk.
Yeah, And the other thing is too, is at that point, whenever we have this comprehensive plan, this firm, I'm curious historically, if they're looking at historic towns, I would be encouraging them, hey, how does Annapolis do this? Because they're really big on everybody's got to be in line and things have to be certain. How do they enforce that? Because they do enforce it.
Right.
I mean, and you don't get away with anything in Annapolis. I'm curious, what is that? Do they have a different backing with Maryland law? Or do they have some documentation that allows them to do that? What is that,
We don't get there was a period where we got a lot of new construction when we opened up lots like Putnam Court, but recently there hasn't been a lot of new construction. It's pretty landlocked. Right?
We're gonna have Putnam Street.
So I think having in place what that means, whether they're going to be set back or up on the street.
Well, we got involved in approval in Cambridge. Remember when we were working on that one? That new house that got put at the very end of the road. And there's still working over that. Well, we didn't do anything on the road.
Right.
I think when we look at Putnam, it's probably a little different than we're looking at Washington. Do you know
Yes.
what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a
This is
tertiary
more-
street.
Yeah, so it's
There's a house, there's a lot, 2 houses from my house. It's Pete Murphy's old house. The lot next to it is open. It's for sale. So there's gonna be a house there someday.
Right.
And how much that lot's going for?
2.25.
That's good.
2.25.
2.25 for a lot.
Yeah, that lot in Roberta, like dog.
Okay.
we looked at what the one strange little triangle lot. I don't even think you can put a house on that was 150. And then the folks in front of it that just bought that are, kind of getting the land ready, that was 210 for the double lot.
Okay.
So I mean, even in that area, I mean, feel bad for the guy at the back because I'm not sure what he's going to be able to put back there. But yeah, I mean, it's going. I don't know what the one sold for that is next to 981 Putnam that used to belong to Wayne Bishop. I don't know what that one went for, but they're putting a house on that too, and I'm not quite sure where they're going to get that house. But
So
yeah,
we'll be talking to all these people.
yeah.
By the way, I got an opportunity. I know we're a little off topic, but talking about that area of town, I went in the Craven house. They used to have an open house and I went in there. Oh my gosh. Whoever owned it allowed somebody to try to fix up the interior, literally gutted it.
It's sad.
And he went 487 for it or something like that or something. And it's like, the kitchen's gone, most of the walls are just studs. They fortunately kept the trim, they ripped that off, and kept a bunch of the doors there in piles. I mean,
It's sad.
this is when you do it wrong.
And the
This is
historic
an example.
significance of that house, you know?
Yep. But it's super sad.
Okay. Okay, ready to move on to number 5, updating the appendix A? Okay, so we had our first meeting, the end of last month, and I would like to say it was pretty productive. What I did send out was I sent out an invitation for, everyone to be able to comment on the document itself. And so what I need is, as we're meeting and as you're doing things, get in there, put your comments out, because this isn't anything I'm going to be able to do from these meetings in my memory. You don't want that from me. So Tommy has put some information on there already.
I'll get there.
I haven't done it, so I'm back. But we basically, we went through my section, went through Tommy's section. I believe we spot on a bit of Christians.
No, we didn't get
No,
to mine. That's
okay.
what I was telling you. We ran out of time. We were like 2 hours.
Yeah, we were. So we're going to meet next Tuesday night is our next session here.
I can't do Tuesday nights. I've
Okay.
got lunch. Sorry.
Okay.
That's my one bad night. That's on Mondays.
Okay.
Every Tuesday.
So maybe in October, but let's get some feedback from both you and Guy, what would work well. We all agreed that we kind of almost need to be here to do this.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I can do a Wednesday, the first, I can do a Friday,
Okay.
Saturday, Sunday.
It's the give and take was awesome, and it was fast.
Yeah.
It was like, wow. Man, I was blown away. It was like, wow,
Yeah, we were
we're gonna
basically
get this thing done.
all on the same page with that. So
But you
again,
can put it on your section, do your thing.
I can do that independently.
And then
So are
we'll talk
you
about
going through other towns?
yes,
Yeah.
I sent out the 5 that everyone seemed to like. And so it was Washington County, the city of Annapolis, Maryland. It was Shepherdstown, Frenchton, and Charlestown were the ones.
Okay,
And so we were just looking and comparing. Some of the things that we discussed were, was brought up that we should have things set aside. So each section, we should say, you know, if we're having doors and entrances, we should talk about what would be for contributing versus non-contributing structures. The other things we talked about were that we need a glossary. So we need these terms very firmly defined. And this is something we saw in somebody else's. Because as we got into this, we have stoop, porch, deck, balcony. Now, someone architectural background will be able to say these are the differences, but the common man is going to walk in here and go, well, I consider that a stoop up from Baltimore. You know, but it's really not that. So we talked about one of the things, including this glossary, and then starting off at the beginning is, let's talk about the different styles of houses that are most commonly found in Harvest area. And what are some of the key elements, the structural elements that you're going to find there? So defining those pictures, we talked about pictures and diagrams as we go on as best we can. Some of these gave us really great examples of diagrams. So if you come upon a diagram that you say, this one's awesome, just reference that so we can pull that in. For people that, okay, I have a concept, I want to replace my windows, but I don't understand all this terminology. So we have the glossary, we have the diagrams and photographs along with that.
Just so you know, see what we talked about is excellent. Add on, it's like, we want to do the paper version first.
okay.
And then you start sticking in all the stuff, all the pictures that are of Harper's Ferry and drawings, and all kinds of. And the one thing we have to study is the solar, because that's a whole new, something new.
And I wrote in from our discussion, I wrote that in today, so that's in there and obviously visible for anyone to punch up where, you know, we can make edits.
And what our goal is to get the paper version done for January town council.
Okay.
So we can get it done by the end of the year. The other version, more color, maybe more, you know, with color pictures and all that kind of stuff would be for a little later.
We just want to do that, the A to Z, the elements there, and straighten that out. Add anything that we find that we are missing. Get rid of anything we don't need in there, which I doubt would be anything. Start kind of straighten some things out. Like I had doors and entrances, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. Screen doors, and I went back and it's saying see doors and entrances. So there were some things as we're going through. If you have something in your list that says see this, I would encourage you to go see that and say, hey, wow, that's not fine.
Right.
Okay.
I think, I'm trying to picture my habit. I used to have an architectural dictionary I bought and I joined this group because I didn't know what half the terms meant.
Yeah.
Like precisely, you know, you're like, oh, it's a student or a porch.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll look for that.
Yeah.
Okay, that'd be
Because
Always bring that. Oh,
yeah,
that'd be
it was
be
an architecture.
Versus the walkway versus the sidewalk.
Yes, and we were struggling with that.
There was.
I don't know if it's all of that. It might just be building terms. I don't know if it's going to get into landscape. But if I can find it, I can see it. It's blue. If
And
10 years ago, I knew what it was.
And you know, we no longer have the ability to approve anything anymore, really. So we have to make everything as clear as day.
Yeah.
To when BZA reads, and I found my wife serves the BZA, so they read this thing really close. They go by, so if we make it better and more transparent and
That's why
add
I
more
think
stuff to it that's useful.
if we get through A to Z and we get it document wise, I'd like to have that, finalized at the November meetings, everybody's contributions in. And then we can go through as a group and say yay and nay at that point, put that final edition together at that point. Because I think all eyes on each of our edits is going to be really important because I think each person's going to bring something a little different to the table. So that's kind of like the plan. So I would
Okay,
say
so we got the October.
September, October.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got two more meetings, and then I think November, hopefully we've got everything shored up and we can have that month.
We'll move the October meeting. So
Yeah, I want to get some more
Yeah,
input on
I mean, I
that.
could do Mondays, and like I said, I could do any night.
Monday is the hardest time to get this room.
So it's probably gonna be Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah, I went Wednesdays to Thursdays.
Guys, what's your evening availabilities for that? So Monday and Tuesdays are not gonna work for all of us.
What time are people thinking?
We're like, we were here 7 to 9. We got a lot done.
That'd be, I think I just need to check,
For
probably
next
third-
month.
Did you have a specific week?
The very last week of October.
Yeah, I mean, I'm wide open at this point. If you pick a day, it should be fine.
Try Wednesday, because I
We'll do
can't
Wednesday.
tell you, we have
Wednesday
get
gets-
special town council meetings are on Thursday, we should end up on Thursdays. for some
Okay.
reason.
So Wednesday the 26th.
Yeah, Wednesday the 26th.
This is October.
Yeah.
October 26th, 7
Yeah.
PM here.
7 PM. I'll put it on my calendar.
So everyone should have gotten the invitation to comment on the doc. Did you get it from it? I know you didn't have a Gmail. I didn't have your Gmail account.
Oh,
So if you have a Gmail account,
I
you
do,
can
it's
send
my
it to
last name at Gmail.
Okay, so petroconis@gmail.com. Okay, I will send that out for
So I
you.
know,
And what we did, she's got the version that's all electronic, and we can just do what
You
we
can
want.
comment. So you put comments there, and then I can do the final audit.
Hey, by the way, I just want to mention, I just reshared a document with you guys that a spreadsheet I had created that took all of the descriptive information from the historic record and put it into like a Google sheet, but trying to do what I think you kind of just described, getting a better feel for what are the most common prevalent architectural styles and elements in town. That's how I was trying to get that done, break it down by each of those components. And then you can do some cool stuff with like Tableau analytics to visualize what's the most common, house style, by period.
Yeah.
So you might want to check that out.
That would be good too when we go, because we talked about photographing instances in the town of, that drawings were necessary, but better to show examples of these are homes here in town with this style or this feature or this type of,
Gutter or.
Yeah.
these gutters.
I've seen some of these K gutters going in.
Oh yeah.
That's on my house too, but I didn't build the house. And that's another thing, we have people, they see something on another house and they go, well, they have it, but that's because they may have done it a long time ago before we changed our standards.
Yeah.
So things have changed for the better.
Okay, so next Tuesday we'll get together again and go from there.
Okay.
Move on to discussion and action of new business. This is going to be considering ZCPA 2022-22, and that would be 730 Fillmore Street. I have the application in front of me and the email trains, 2 email trains that are changed that came out. Basically what they're looking for is BZA would like a written opinion of the demolition request from the owners of this property. A lot of good points were brought up in the email chains. Specifically, we saw some good pointers from Lynn Petriconis that talked about information regarding the homeowner's response to why they want this demolition to occur. So I wanted to open that up to anyone that has.
Is that the application?
This is right here.
Well, we have on page 23 of our appendix. It says, and this, by the way, I did verify is a contributing structure. Both houses are, both buildings on that site. By the way, I noticed that the house itself is in both lots. It's kind of interesting, but the garage is in one lot. So, but they're both contributing structures. But it says here, outbuildings that are original in the property or that contribute to the historical character shall be preserved, maintained, and repaired as needed, adhering to the original design features and using original materials. I mean, that's right in our appendix. We almost need to just literally quote back.
So I don't know if you saw my response, Guy, to Dave Simmons, because he asked when our response was going to be, and I told him whether you or I would be back to him with our recommendation in 3 days. And if you when we make that motion, I can, if you want me to type that up or you want to type that up, just let me know what you want to do with that. And
Okay. Go for it. If you're willing to do it, go for it.
And so far, we're looking at that on page 29,
23.
23. Okay.
And then on page 33, you'll see about demolition. And so that's on page 32, actually. It starts relocation and demolition. But relocation really means moving moving a structure to another part of the lot, kind of thing. But the Board of Zoning Appeals is involved at this point. They issue a temporary stay of demolition of a significant structure or building. There's appeal. It's just, there's a whole thing that BZA does. We don't. But I think all we need to stand on is this part here having to do with garages, carriage houses, and outbuildings.
And that's on 23.
23, and there's a bit on 22, but 23 has to do with the. It says here, good paragraph here. Harpersferry houses like those of most small 19th and early 20th century villages often had accessory buildings, and some have garages as well as sheds and other small outbuildings. These small buildings give diversity to the streetscape, and they're simple, functional, well-proportioned little buildings of natural materials.
I'm just looking through, so I've always been told that that home was a Sears, like the Department of Sears craftsman home. So I'm just looking through the archives of Sears home models to try to find a date and because they were sold as a package. I mean, you bought from Sears the material and the plans to build your home. And I don't know the correspondence of the date of the garage or the outbuilding to the home itself, but I mean,
The main structure is 1 story. 2
Yes,
stories?
it's 1 story.
the outbuilding is 1 story.
No, the main structure.
It's 2 stories.
2.
2.
It's 2 with a kind of with a basement that they would probably need some finishing to be
So I guess,
So I'm just, so is the elevation of this proposed barn taller than the house? It's very tall.
No,
yeah, it's a two-story. Yeah,
Yeah,
this is much like what's out on, the Lily Garden, not Lily Garden, what's that? One and Juan Christie's on Putnam.
Lavender
Farm, Lavender Farm.
Also-
That same barn, you've
Yeah.
seen it out there?
Yeah.
I think that's the scale we're looking at.
So basically.
It's a two-story barn. And there is one down the street from there towards Washington, and that's the other B&B, Airbnb down there.
It was Tony Cantonese.
there was,
That building was made before.
that building was also in not what was submitted or approved. It got twice as tall as it got built. And there's still a lot of resentment about that barn. So I would not use it as setting precedent of anything we would have approved because it was much larger.
Yes,
And
I
it was
think-
supposed to be a simple garage and it
And
turned out to be an apartment. This looks like it will be a rental of some sort now that it's a two-story house. That looks like a barn.
So it's pretty different from the other garages we had.
And it's actually 3 stories.
I was gonna say, I thought there was a third floor on it.
Yep.
That's not added.
It's going to be taller than the house.
No.
And that's the scale is wrong.
Yeah, 29 feet, 9 inches tall.
That's 3 stories. So you will see that over the house. It's a giant whole thing behind it. So it's the wrong scale, but it's supposed to be an outbuilding.
But the question is for us, is the existing building,
Right.
really?
And I need help with that.
BCA.
what's the
Deal with the structure.
Right.
what's the question?
Do we issue a demolition permit for the existing garage?
And what was the question about that? Is it is a contributing structure?
It is, and then the only problems that were able to be demonstrated by photographs have been the roof. You know, they asked for more feedback and it's in that email chain that, primarily they talked about aesthetics and space is what they looked at. But the only thing that we could see by photographs and by mentioning was the roof. We haven't gotten any more evidence back from the homeowner or from our ordinance compliance officer about anything else that would be a structural issue.
Well, I think this is gonna be, BZA is gonna get involved in it, because if you look at demolition, what they have to provide is documentation that it's not something.
Yeah, I mean, isn't it
I think we're stepping in an area, I think right now, we just have to say this is basically a contributing structure. And that's it.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
we feel this building is significant because it's contributing to the town's character. So then that's our recommendation to BZA. BZA will do their thing.
Okay. No, I'm
Size of the new building.
I make a motion that we make a recommendation to BZA that the building in question at 730 Fillmore is considered a contributing structure and contributes to the historic significance of the town, and that we would refer them to page 23, garages and outbuildings in standards and guidelines.
Yes.
Okay. And
I'll second.
You gotta write that whole motion.
I will, yes,
It's recorded too, so.
yes, that's, I just love the recording. Thank you very much.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, unanimous.
Okay, so I will have that out to BZA in the next 3 days.
That's all they need to hear from us. It's
Yes.
our recommendation.
Yes.
On that topic of outbuildings, you mentioned it earlier, but something, as we're thinking about revision and kind of what the future function of these buildings are. Solar came up a second ago, and I know there was a proposal by a tenant now moved out of town 10 years ago, that we could consider, or that small communities could consider consolidating solar collection on outbuildings. instead of on the main roof. And possibly even enjoy making new small outbuildings that were suited for things like the power that you might need for charging cars and EV, and we're always trying to customization. And so it's not just a 19th century thing or a 20th century thing, it might be a 21st century forward-looking function we want to put a space around and encourage, so people don't start slapping solar all over their primary facade roofs.
No, we were,
Yeah, and I wrote that section up. Let me see if I can pull it
because
back
we
up.
were talking about looking at what there's a lot of advances now where you would look at something and not think it's a solar panel, or it blends in well enough where it's not just this big metal thing with a plate on top of somebody's
Floating
roof.
on a metal roof.
Yes.
The ridges disappear.
Yeah.
And I also think you're never gonna be able to write anything that will be too good, perfect. I think it's gonna be on a case by case basis. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the way that I wrote that one, and it was intentionally kind of open-ended, and we had discussed, well, I mean, if you want, I'll read you what but the Harpers Ferry Historical Landmarks Commission strongly supports the use of solar and alternative energy sources and believes that implementation of these technologies does not require sacrifice of the charm, character, and historical integrity of the homes and buildings in Harpers Ferry. And then number 1, whenever possible, solar panels shall be placed on rear sections of roof away from the public right of way. 2, if due to the orientation of the home, solar panels would be ineffective on the rear of a home, homeowners shall apply to BZA for permission to mount on other sections of the roof. As part of this application, homeowners are requested to submit a report by a solar energy professional showing the energy harvesting potential of rear of roof panels as opposed to those placed in other sections of the roof.
That's where I would suggest
Yeah.
for secondary structures, and that we might create a place where we consider secondary subordinate structures that are in the right solar orientation.
It's a great idea. Some things like garages, because.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Or even if it's something like a gazebo, but that is capturing the right energy in the right orientation, but it's not on the right away, might be an accommodation.
Great.
And we have to look at the square footage, blah, 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 there's like all those rules around out buildings and how many and how much, but I think that would be a qualifying, desirable outcome rather than putting it on the primary facade.
Okay, I
That's
like that idea.
Yeah, and then the rest I just put number 3, regardless of placement, every effort shall be made to blend the solar panels and all supporting infrastructure into the pre-existing slope and appearance of the roof. This includes roof pitch and design, as well as whenever possible color. And then for more information, refer to the Secretary of Interior's standards for rehab and illustrated guidelines on sustainability, with the link to the Park Service sustainability rehab page. So that was one I tried to leave clear but open-ended.
Yeah.
If that's
No,
possible.
no, it is. It's very well written.
Slightly different, so you're aware the town is, during the process of working with Tom Jennison, they have a solar energy program, and they have 3 gray sites, their old power plants. They dump the slag or whatever. There's 3 areas in the state, and so municipalities can sign up and pay part of it's a percentage of their electric bill, then goes to this fund to do the solar. And individual owners with their bills can do the same thing. That's why we can participate in doing solar without putting solar panels on our homes. It's to get them to do it on an industrial basis, big solar systems. And it's the way the West Virginia legislature has come up with this program.
We're kind of buying like carbon offset
It's
credits.
a little bit kind of like that, and we're looking at doing our potential lighting, because I approved the bills and the bills for the lighting system, and so we can say that the town of Harpers Ferry is legitimately contributing towards this project, and any other municipalities that would do it as well. It's not, I think it's a certain percentage.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking of Barbara Hume's house, and the solar on the front had to be there because of the orientation of the property,
That is the right orientation, is this way, which is
which is everyone on that street, on that
Yes.
north side of the street, the
not
south.
on the other side.
Right, but on that side of the street, maybe the outbuildings could do that same collection and then run the power back.
I could do it in the front of my house, but just in that section, but I have too many trees.
So you got the trees around.
Trees are huge.
All right,
And
well, save this for a Tuesday discussion.
yeah,
Okay.
the solar thing is really,
Yeah, are there any other cases in town of a better product than Barbara installed? Because hers is quite old now.
is hers a water system or is it?
It's electric.
It's an electric photo, but it was.
You know who we might want to talk to are the folks that were building on that corner lot up on Putnam, the one across the street from me. That was all trees, the Franklin extension. That double,
Feel
yeah, they're talking about
They were
solar, so they're probably doing a lot of homework and research around that, so. We might want to pick their brains as to,
also, was it Clarion Inn? What's the one across 340 there? That is all solar.
is it, okay, so where they have
White Tavern is.
the White Horse Tavern,
Yeah,
okay,
they might have learned like what's working in its model,
Okay.
because they've been solar now
Or
for
maybe
years.
one of these days you can invite one of the vendors, one of the companies.
Oh, yeah.
that does it. And where it is now compared to where they.
Yeah, there's one right on Main Street in Shepherdstown
Isn't it?
that does a
Oh,
lot
that's
of, yeah, solar holler. I was looking at their stuff today, because during lunch I was thinking about this section and I was pulling up Tesla solar, solar panels versus their solar roof versus other local people, but they're right on German Street there in Shepherdstown.
Well, now Tesla won't sell their solar panels anymore unless you buy their battery.
Yeah.
And really, that's the way to go. That way you can avoid a generator, but you can have like backup power.
Yeah.
It may not be enough to run your whole house.
but
Trucks will do that in a couple of years. The Lightning, Ford F-150 Lightning.
They say you can power your house.
For 2 days.
as long as it keeps my freezer
I was gonna
frozen,
say.
yeah, there we go,
A fan will-
yeah.
So there's nothing else we need to do for the Fillmore Street.
No, that's the only, that was the wording that I copied. They would like a written opinion of the demolition request, and we're just filling in that that's a
It
contributing
supports
structure.
them. Supports what they're trying to do.
Okay, if there's nothing else, I make a motion, we adjourn the meeting.
Second that.
Okay, and all those in favor?
Bye.
Okay, we're adjourning at
It's
8:08 PM.
good. That's
Record setting.
All right,
I think we lost
thank
the
you,
guy.
Guy.
I think we lost him.
Did we lose them?
I got
Do you have an end down there in the corner? There you go.